The Supreme Court has lifted federal limits on how much political parties can spend in coordination with their candidates. In a 6-3 decision handed down Tuesday, divided along ideological lines, the justices struck down restrictions known as coordinated party expenditures, ruling that those limits violated the First Amendment. The case was brought by the National Republican Senatorial Committee. Their lawyer, Noel J. Francisco, argued during oral arguments that the spending limits were, in his words, at war with the court's own prior rulings that have consistently held that restricting how money is spent in politics amounts to restricting political speech. Justice Brett Kavanaugh wrote the majority opinion. He concluded that the court's existing campaign finance precedents required it to strike down the law that had established those limits, and to overturn a 2001 decision that had previously upheld them. Kavanaugh framed the ruling in terms of fairness, writing that the decision treats all political parties equally and that all parties and candidates can now compete equally under the same rules and structure their fundraising, spending, and political speech on a level playing field. The practical implications are significant, especially heading into the midterm elections. Federal law requires broadcasters to offer discounted advertising rates to political candidates, but not to outside groups like super PACs. In recent years, Democratic candidates have often outraised Republican candidates, especially through small-dollar online donations. By allowing parties to coordinate more freely with their candidates, the ruling could help Republican candidates qualify for those lower broadcast advertising rates, shrinking what had been a meaningful financial edge for Democrats. Justice Elena Kagan wrote a sharp dissent, joined by the court's other two liberal justices. She warned that the ruling opens the door to corruption by allowing wealthy donors to route money around contribution caps to individual candidates. If a party faces no limits on what it can spend in coordination with a candidate, she argued, the party can serve as the candidate's checking account. More broadly, Kagan said the cumulative effect of the court's campaign finance decisions has produced, in her words, a legal regime increasingly unable to stop political corruption, and thus to preserve our institutions' democratic legitimacy. The Trump administration had supported the challenge to the spending limits. This is a major ruling that reshapes the rules of campaign finance just as the 2026 midterm cycle heats up. That's the latest from Washington. Thanks for listening.